We got so many things to get into in this video, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got Katy Perry losing it once again. And apparently Taylor Swift is following the same sort of pattern. We'll get into that. We also have a ton of other stories. We got apparently the Vladmeister and our president doing something rather strange that hasn't happened since the 1990s, referring to nuclear stuff going on. We'll get into that. We have a ton of other stuff. We got Bill Maher. We got Joe Rogan. We also have apparently the Tuckmeister talking about marriage and women and what's going on with their culture. We'll get into that as well. Let's just get going here. Let's start with this. Apparently a viral steak breakfast photo goes viral on X. And asking, what do you think is missing from this breakfast? And it looks like a lot of meat. Oh my goodness, that's insane. I love eating a lot of meat and eggs, and I'm thinking this is too much. I would take the steak and the eggs. I don't know. I think I'd get rid of most of this and put something else. Maybe some home fries or something like that. I don't know. But that's a lot of meat. Oh my goodness. Some pretty funny comments underneath it. One guy wrote, you might need a defibrillator after eating this. I mean, yeah, it is kind of, there is a little bit of meat there, but of course, as I've talked about before, it's not really the meat or the eggs that are the problem. The issue is that it's not organic. If you look into the omega-3 6 ratios with organic eggs versus regular common eggs, and also with steak and meats, you'll find out that it's amazing actually. You can actually get a steak with the same omega-3 6 ratio as fish if you get organic meat, which of course is more expensive, but it's just amazing because of how they've sort of changed our food over time. A lot of people just assume things like this are bad for you. Even on the show, they were talking about eating a burger is bad for you, when in reality, if you eat organic meat or meat that's just better for you, then it's actually more healthy than you might imagine. Then we got this story here. Apparently, a lot of posts on X about how some of these illegals are getting $13,000, $15,000, $5,000 of food stamps. I remember reading in my comment section, there's people talking about only getting $50 or $25 a month. Matter of fact, even some of the top comments right here, I'm disabled and living on SSDI, and I get a whopping $54 a month in SNAP benefits. I'm a Navy veteran and have worked and paid taxes since I was 15 years old up to 2017 until I got disabled. So I find it really amazing how, there's people that have actually worked their entire life. They finally, something happens, they're disabled. They can't even get $25, $50 worth of money a month, which is insane these days. I mean, you can't buy anything with that. While you have illegals getting $15,000, $13,000, cash balance $5,000, all these different receipts showing this. You can see it right there on that one. You got one over here too. Same idea. Right here, 11,500. I showed one yesterday. It was 15,000 on another channel, on my other channel. So it's just absolutely insane. Of course, there was also a post that went viral, a news clip showing someone claiming that, well, it was a misnomer. Basically, what it was is they said that 59% of those that come from other countries in America are on the SNAP benefits. Now, some people are interpreting that to mean that over 50% of all the cost goes to foreigners, which is not what's being said. And then they were trying to correct it on X with, community notes. But then I saw this post, which I found to be rather intriguing because it shows the SNAP program almost doubled when Biden was, of course, president. Check out these charts. This is amazing. So here you had all these people crossing over, illegally. If I can get it on the screen, maybe I can get it on the screen. There you go. And then if you go look back here, you got this line of, there we go. That's still not good. Maybe like this. Here we go. Where you can see how much it almost doubled. It went from like 70 to $125 billion. So I find that rather intriguing. So maybe it really is, and maybe it's not over 50%, but maybe it is a very huge percentage of all SNAP benefits are going to, of course, illegals. It very well could be the case. I don't know what it might be 20%, it might be 30%, whatever it is, it's a huge amount. It should be 0%, not 20 or 15 or 10 or 40 or whatever it is. I don't think it's 40, but well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It seems to be very high at any rate. So then we have this story. Apparently U.S. ends penny production, triggers shortages, and now retail companies like Walmart are actually rounding off your receipts. Let me see if I can get this on the screen. 2 cents back.
And they rounded up to 3 cents and gave me 5 cents back.
Yeah, so essentially now it's going to be like if they owed you $10.52, they'll give you $10.50 back now instead of $10.52. So that's what's going on with that. So now that's because they stopped penny production back in February of this year. Now they're running out of pennies. At any rate, you got that story. You got here Katy Perry apparently under backlash for tossing a cake that a woman's mother spent hours on, all for it to end up on the floor and her team eat it off the floor, apparently. Check this out. There's no audio, apparently. She ends up trying to throw it at some guy, and she's really terrible at throwing, apparently. He's a pretty good dodger. He dodged it pretty good. They're eating it off the floor now, apparently. But, of course, she's also been seen, maybe this was the same one. This woman has lost her mind. Oh, my goodness, dude.
That we don't have the power. They keep telling us that we don't have the power.
Oh my goodness.
Waking up and we
She starts running around. This is some great dance moves. I could almost do that. So, wow, look at that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. She has not improved at all since her Blue Origin flight. I think this is 100% confirmation. She was replaced by an alien while she went up in that Blue Origin space ride, or space, amusement ride. And apparently Taylor Swift has been taking lessons from this alien and charging her own fans $20,000 to simply watch her lip sync. Apparently she's not even singing the song. $20,000 to watch Taylor Swift lip sync and do terrible dance moves that she learned from apparently Katy Perry. So you got that going on. We're going to get into, like I said, a ton of stuff. We have our president's approval ratings have dropped. We're going to get into this whole thing with Nick being interviewed by the Tuckmeister, and some hilarious stuff are said, some really good points he makes, but at the same time, there's something that he said I think he's wrong about. I'm going to point out, and this is more stuff around dating and marriage and our culture. It's not really some of the other stuff that people have been covering. I'm going to get into that as well. And we got a lot of other things. We got the Fed. We got some weird stuff going on with Russia. And also we got some stuff on Candace as well. First, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description for this. If I can get it on the screen. Here we go. 4 months worth for $6.97. They gave an extra month free in the package. You're going to definitely want to get that, considering all the wonderful things that happen around us these days, my friends. Link is in the description. And this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. Not a bit of solar, do things around the house as they did in the old days. Hundreds of pages illustrated. You're going to need that book before the power goes out. All right. Link is in the description for that. $37. Get the printed version. You got to go check out my website, GR Videos. All my other links to social media are linked below. Let's get back to the video. So we have here our president's approval rating drops to 39%, second term low amid economic strains. Obviously, we recently saw since August, inflation has gone up quite a bit. We even saw gold prices go through the roof. And it's insane. I'm hoping some of you guys bought gold when I told you to back. I've been talking about gold for like 4 or 5 years now. I went and checked my records. I bought an ounce of gold for $1,795. $1,795 back in 2020. And now today it costs you about $4,400 for the same thing. It was $1,700. Now it's $4,400. Or $1,800, $4,400. It's gone up insane. And now I'm like, I was going to buy some yesterday. I'm like, dude, I'm going to just wait a day or two for it to go down some, because I know it's supposed to go up even higher. It's supposed to go up to 5,000 by something like January, like February next year. But I'm thinking it's got to go down some because it went up so much so quickly. It's got to like go down a little bit, and then I'm going to buy. And if you're interested, there's links below. But it's supposed to go up to 5,000 sometime early next year. But I'm thinking it's got to go down some because it really peaked high recently. So go check it out. But I mean, this is part of the reason why his approval rating's down, is because he keeps saying the economy's great. It was great for a while there. It was going sideways, at least, and inflation wasn't going up for a while. All of a sudden, it just started shooting up again after August. And, of course, also, you have this whole AI thing going on. So we're really at a nexus point. We're seeing AI, robots taking jobs, but I'm guaranteeing you that this is a wave, and I'll show you the proof in a second here, that this is a wave that they're going to just go all in on AI and robots, and then they're going to be like, oh shit, this isn't working like we thought it was. It's worse than we expected, and then they're going to come back and hire people back. And I'll show you proof of that, actually. Let me show you one of these videos I saw recently. Check this out. You can see the robot here having a little bit of a hard time apparently doing the dishes here. Cost $20,000 for this robot. And then also on top of that, I can't even shut the thing. On top of it, costing $20,000, you got to pay a monthly subscription for it as well. Wow, great job there, dude. Yeah, the loaded dishwasher. You didn't even shut the door, dude. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, we saw the AI at Taco Bell getting overloaded by people, making fun of it and ordering 20,000 drinks and stuff like that. The fact is, these are not what they're telling us they are yet. They're not that smart. They're not good enough to do all the stuff. And it's going to be one of these things where it's going to be an AI market bubble, and it's going to pop, and they're going to lose a ton of money. NVIDIA, OpenAI, they have all this money coming into them right now, and it's a really unstable market too. So you're going to end up seeing all these jobs coming back, the ones that have been taken by AI of recent. You're going to see them all come back. I think not all of them, but a lot of them. And then on top of that, you're going to see a ton of blue-collar jobs coming in, because now we're at the point, it hasn't even been a year yet, but it's been almost long enough to maybe start seeing some jobs pop up from that, because a lot of companies like Toyota and others have come back to America. We had Stellantis opening 3 or 4 new factories. Actually, it was 2 or 3 old factories and 1 or 2 new factories. You got all these different companies opening new factories, but of course, it takes like a year or two from to actually get them open to where you can actually have jobs. So then you're waiting it out, and right now you're seeing AI take the jobs that are already there in some cases. So then you also got inflation, all the stuff that looks really bad on our president. And I do think he is kind of. I think the Doge thing didn't go well. I mean, they should have kept that thing for long term for all 4 years. That would have been a good idea. I feel like, you should be sticking on this a lot harder. And also, I think our president is going to get rid of the Fed. We're seeing some interesting things. They're trying to blame tariffs for all the economic problems, but in reality, a lot of it, and part of the issue with the inflation is the Fed would refuse to raise to change the rates. And lower rates, and they just did, but only a quarter. They're supposed to do it 0.5. So they're actually purposely trying to sabotage our president in the process. But at the same time, our president is also trying to do this thing where he's trying to get rid of the Fed. And that's why gold prices are so high right now, is I think there's an issue where they're going to try to reevaluate the gold at Fort Knox, and they're going to try to somehow get rid of some of our debt in the process doing this. So I think there's a lot of moving parts to this, and I don't know how it's going to fully work out, but there clearly is some stuff going on. They were using a stable coin. He is trying to do some interesting new things, and a lot of people are getting concerned that are at the top. We're talking on the world level. We're talking global types. You know what I mean? They're actually getting very concerned about what he's doing. Check this out.
So at the recent Eastern Economic Forum in Russia, one of Vladimir Putin's closest advisors said something that got a lot of attention.
Америка прямо сейчас пытается поменять правила на рынке золота и криптовалют. Вспомните, какой у них долг. 35 триллионов долларов.
He said, the United States is preparing to use crypto and stablecoins to secretly devalue its entire $37 trillion debt.
Right.
Загоняя всех.
So he's trying to get rid of our debt. He's trying to get rid of her debt. I think he's going to put the dollar back on the gold standard. Then you'll actually have literally 3 to 4 times as much money as you currently have. Once you get rid of the Fed, because he can do that through the nuclear option via the Senate. This is just my theory of what he's going to do, because you're already starting to see a lot of the theories I come up with, you're seeing him still doing all the steps that would go with these theories that I come up with. So my theory, and I said this 3 months ago, that he is going to essentially get rid of the Fed, put the dollar back on the gold standard. We're already seeing him make the gold prices go way up. We're already seeing that they were looking at Fort Knox. We already know that story. So it does, and even the Russians know this. Even their top economic dudes are saying this. So it shows that I'm probably right, because he's thinking the same thing I was thinking, or at least partially, very, very in the same line. So this is our way of our president trying to solve our whole problem. Although, like I said, it's just complicated. It's a lot of moving parts and stuff. And you can see, though, the Russians are not happy, because you saw that clip, right? Look what else is going on. Okay, so no, where is it at? Yeah, here it is. Putin, or the Vladmeister, announced a successful Poseidon drone test. Now, this thing causes these massive, of course, waves. Massive waves. Ooh, they got a video of it? That's got some weird sound on it. Let's see if it shows anything. So what it does is it causes a massive wave. And it's not a good one. And it could be as high as a skyscraper. Here's actually a picture of what it does. And so this is one of their latest in their arsenal. Okay. And as soon as this came out like yesterday, I think it was, our president put out this. Reaches an agreement, a trade agreement with Z, a trade truce, as U.S. resumes nuclear, of course, testing that ended in 1992. So this is because of what the Vladmeister just did the day before. With this thing, our president's like, oh yeah, okay, we're going to start doing it. We're going to start testing. I mean, I don't really like what I'm seeing here, but maybe it's not as bad as it looks, because it's kind of like it's like a competition thing, economic competition. It doesn't look like it. It looks really bad, and it actually does kind of look bad to me as well. But I do think actually this is more of a competition thing than it is an actual like war thing. That's my theory. At any rate, you got that story. Then we got this clip of Bill Maher here talking about all this crime. And we have, what's going on with all these cities of recent, right? So you have here Bill Maher and Charlie Sheen talking about a really interesting statistic of where most crimes are actually caused by only 600 people in a city. Most of the crimes, like thousands of crimes, are caused by only 600 people. Check this out.
I know. Like some crazy percentage of crimes, some side of crime was like from 600 people who just over and over did like 80% of the
that is
whatever.
Just,
I know.
Wow.
I know.
So if you're able to build statistics from that, you clearly know who the fuck they are, right? So why not just take those 600 people and just build a special place for them?
And this is why it's so
Call it the 600 building.
Right. That's good.
I mean,
that's very good.
There's
the 600 building.
Yeah, there it is.
And this is why Republicans get elected, because Democrats run cities and they don't do that.
I mean, this is a good point. I mean, it does make sense. Like, if it's only a small fraction of the population causing all the crimes, let's put those people away. Why are we worrying about, instead, let's just be like Europe and put grandma in jail for putting something on Facebook, No, let's just deal with the actual criminals, right? And apparently, that's what our president's doing now. Pentagon directs National Guard to form, apparently, control units in all states. By next year, all 50 states, they're going to have these control units ready to be able to be deployed anytime something goes wrong in a city. Crime-wise, urban crime, et cetera, et cetera. This is actually not a bad idea. And you have here Nick talking about what's going on with these protests with ICE, what's happening to ICE. And he says, this is how we should handle this. We have all these cities, we have these governors, mayors coming against our president saying, no, you can't come into my city. You can't establish law and order. You can't arrest criminals. This is what Nick had to say, and this is actually pretty interesting. Check this out.
The other side. This is controversial, but they have to crush the other side.
That's right. Oh, that's right. 100 fucking %. Absolutely.
Because you can do one of two things. You cannot challenge the left.
That's
and
right.
let them do their thing.
And then they're going to just run you over, and eventually when they get power, they're going to crush you.
Exactly.
Or you can utterly confront them and defeat them. And
you destroy them completely. Destroy everything about them. Put the mayors in jail.
Yeah, I think we've been nice for way too long, my friends. We have to actually just lay down the law. Do what the law says. Arrest actual criminals. We've moved from the position of it being like a friendly debate between two sides to one side just straight up breaking all the laws. But that's just their opinion. No, it isn't. They're breaking laws. If they're breaking laws, there's no longer opinions. That's actual actions, and they need to be held accountable for it. I think I have to agree with that because we've been too nice for too long. We just keep letting them do stuff, and that's why our country continues to slide. Then we got this story here. Apparently now Candace has come out and said that Charlie apparently was a secret Catholic, and now he had a Catholic funeral. This is why we were never shown the funeral. Now, every time she comes out with one of these new takes like this, and it might be true, it's starting to look like it might be actually true. I just feel kind of like, man, I mean, she just keeps this drama going with Charlie. I mean, it's like how many months? It's been a while. It's almost been it hasn't been 2 months. It's been 50 days. 50 days since he died. And she's still talking about him. Like literally every episode is this guy. And she just keeps coming out with these new breadcrumbs. And apparently now she's saying that he's really a Catholic. He was converting right before he died. And it might be true, actually. Apparently, Grok has confirmed where he was buried. And it's a Catholic cemetery. I'm like, oh my goodness, seriously? Come on, what is going on here? And something to add to all of this is there's a recent note that just came out today, a few minutes ago. Vatican to release doctrinal notes on Mary's role in salvation November 4th. And it immediately went viral. And the thing is I'm also talking about here in this video how Candace just said that Charlie apparently had a Catholic funeral. So to me, this is really interesting to throw this in as well, because I think this is actually a very important discussion. I'm not a Catholic myself. Technically I'm by default a Protestant, although I tend to agree more so with the Orthodox Church on things. And I think what the Catholics have done with this whole thing with Mary, in many respects, is erroneous, because you have, and I've talked about this before, that the first pope to actually create a basilica to Mary was Pope Sixtus III. Pope 6 and another 6. A lot of people are not aware of that. I can actually show you that. And that was the first also pope to say that Mary was not the mother of Jesus, but not the mother of God. And I feel like they've conflated this topic because, yeah, technically Jesus is God and she's the mother of him. But the way it's said, it sounds like he's literally saying that Mary is Jesus, like God's mother, like she created God or something. Of course, that's not what it's meant, but the fact that the words play that way, I think is a huge problem. And if you look into, let me write this down, Pope Sixtus III, and what was it? Pope Sixtus III, Mary Basilica. Here we go. I think this should tell me about it. Pope Sixtus III rebuilt and dedicated the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome around 432 to 440 AD to honor the Virgin Mary as Theotokos, Mother of God. So he rebuilt and dedicated actually a basilica. I don't think it was to her initially, if I remember correctly. But now it's declaring her the Mother of God, and he builds a building or rebuilds a building for her. And in a sense, couldn't this be considered idolatry? I find this to be a very interesting thing to discuss. Again, I don't have a problem with Catholics. My wife is Catholic. But And I think the Orthodox tend to do a better job with the whole Mary topic. I think the Protestants do as well, although some of them go a little too far with it. Because, I think Mary might have actually stayed a virgin her entire life. I'm not quite sure. Because the term cousin didn't exist, they would say brothers and sisters could refer to cousins, or it could be, half brothers, half sisters, because apparently Joseph had a wife that died before he married Mary. And then his brothers and sisters actually were from the previous wife. So that it might have actually been the case that Mary only had one child, and it was Jesus. I think that's probably true. But her being the Theotokos. Now, if you argue with a Catholic or an Orthodox about Theotokos, they'll say there's nothing wrong with it because Jesus is God and she's the mother of Jesus. So that means she's the mother of God. But my whole point is that when you say mother of God, it sounds like you're saying someone over God. And I think this is intentional, although it reminds me of like some of these Calvinist arguments about total depravity. Like you can't stop sinning. Like it's almost an excuse for sin. Like it's not like you're saying literally she's the mother of God. And it's not like you're saying you have a license to sin with the Calvinist doctrine, but you can easily see how someone could easily construe it that way or easily turn it into that. Right? Because now we have all these Marian dogmas that come out and are talking about a new Marian dogma, a fifth one. And this is what these people are saying. I'm both insanely excited and absolutely terrified at the same time. Pray that Pope Leo handles this right. It's a time to proclaim the fifth Marian dogma. Please give it to me straight. This is interesting because, like I said, some Catholics go really far with this, saying co-redemptrix, and they mean more than merely just her being in some weird remote way. They literally mean she's part of the redemption process. In reality, I think this is wrong. What they're doing, they're taking it too far. She obviously should be looked at as a saint. We even had the angel in the gospel say that people will say in the future she's blessed, which is clearly true. I'm not trying to diminish any of that, but the point is that when you start going and making these new doctrines, I think there is an issue with this because, again, this whole Pope Sixtus III, as I've talked about before, I believe this Pope, if you follow my channel, I believe he's the one who actually was, again, this is kind of crazy. I don't want to get into all here because it'll take me a long time, but I've got other videos where I actually talk about this. Actually, I talk about it over my main website, GR Videos. You can go to the free section, and there's areas in here where I talk about it. You have to go down pretty far, I think. At least a little ways. Where I talk about this topic. If you look for Joan of Arc, you'll see a picture of Joan of Arc. That's where I talk about my dream I had from God about this. Let's see here. Man, I got a lot of videos. Here it is. Joan of Arc right here. Gilderay and the Depths of Lucifer. So what I'm trying to say is God gave me a dream that actually showed me where we are eschatology-wise. And that how the Protestant church has it wrong, how almost no one has it right. In reality, we're in the time after the millennial kingdom. The millennial kingdom was the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages was a good time. But this guy, Pope Sixtus III, was right before the Middle Ages started. And I believe he's the one who ushered in the Antichrist in his time, right beforehand. And the fall of the Roman Empire was actually the defeat of the devil. And that's what ushered in the millennial kingdom of 1,000 years into the Middle Ages. Now we're in the short time in Revelation where it says the devil is released from the bottomless pit. And then we've been in that time for 500 years already. And this is my theory as to what time we're really in. And I believe Pope Sixtus III was a cancer, a false theology that was within the church right before it fell, right before it went into the time of the Antichrist because of his teaching. And actually, it's not just the Catholics, it's the Protestants as well, because guess what? Pope Sixtus III was friends with St. Augustine. Let me show you that. And St. Augustine is the venerated theologian of most of the Protestant church. Okay? They were friends. Frequent, respectable correspondence. Actually, they were friends. And actually, Augustine was under Pelagius and went and rejected Pelagius and went towards Pope Sixtus III's doctrine. And so Pelagius, his name means of the sea. And it says in Revelation, the beast will come out of the sea. So he came out of Pelagius and was friends with Pope 6 and another 6. And I've covered all this on video. So I actually think this what's happened is some in the Catholic Church, I think the normal people are not trying to turn Mary into a god, but I do think some evil people have purposely done this. They've been perhaps influenced by the devil, whatever you want to call it, to try to turn Mary into a god. And this is, I think, part of the problem. Also, you have, I've talked about it before as well, 1 Timothy 3, 1 Timothy 4, 1 Timothy 3, it says that a bishop and deacon must be a husband of one wife. The Catholic Church doesn't allow you to get married if you're a bishop or a priest. 940 years ago is when it became illegal in the Catholic Church. Before that, priests had wives. And it talks about the next chapter over, 1 Timothy 4, but in the latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to doctrines of devils, deceiving spirits, forbidding to marry, commanding to abstain from meats. I can show you this all. Let me back up and find this really quick. History. I have an article about this. I've talked about this before as well. I got too many articles with the word history in it. Here it is. It's around here somewhere. I think it's down. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, so this article here, 1 Timothy 4, Spirit speaketh expressly in the latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits, doctrines of the devil, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having a conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry, commanding to abstain from meats. Now, if you look at the history of the Catholic Church, it was Pope Benedict VIII that ruled a rule prohibiting children of priests from inheriting property. Pope Gregory VII banned marriages for priests in the Second Lateran Council in 1139. Further, Pope Innocent II voided all current priest marriages and forced all new priests to divorce their wives. I believe this is the beginning of the prophecy of the Second Lateran Council. And this actually goes into what I wanted to talk about next, which is about marriage, and I think how the devil got into the church and the world to set up this corrupt system we have today. And actually, by the way, we got some interesting news on that as well with cash. All right, here it is, my friends. We have here officials clash over foreign ties in, Charlie's murder. You have here Cash clashing with Tulsi director DNI, right? Tulsi is looking into if there are any foreign, of course, actors involved in what happened. And apparently Cash is upset that she's doing this. Now, I don't know about you, but Cash has been the biggest letdown ever for me. I was expecting way more from this guy. He seems to be literally doing the exact opposite of what I expected him to do. The guy was touted as being this awesome dude. He'll just save the country and do all this stuff. He had this big game he was talking right before he got in. He literally has done almost nothing so far. And if anything, has actually been doing negative stuff. He's been actually making things, blurring lines, trying to make you not understand what's really going on, telling you something that's not true. And now apparently he's trying to stop people who are actually trying to solve this in our government, which, by the way, Tulsi has been 100% a good pick by our president. She's been doing her job right. Everything I've seen come from her has been good. So I'm not surprised at all that she's running into Cash and Cash is upset with her because she's actually doing her job right. So it's just kind of funny to see this. All right. And so you got that story. Obviously with this Candace, it's just really amazing how she's almost talked about this for 2 months straight and has still got new stuff every time. It's like, oh, he was really Catholic. Here's the evidence. So every time she comes out with something, it sounds outlandish, but then she ends up providing some receipts, proving it. Not everything she said, because some of the stuff she said I don't think is even backable. I mean, she was trying to say that Tyler or someone from the front did it, which clearly is not the case. But at any rate, you get that whole thing. So getting over to some big stuff I wanted to talk about in this video. We have, of course, what's going on in our society with marriage, with feminism, all this stuff. First, I wanted to show you this. We have this Sydney Sweeney Variety Power of Women red carpet where she apparently wore pretty much nothing. A lot of people have been talking about that. Yeah. So, I mean, it shows you kind of how our society is. You have here and honestly, I don't like that because it's one of those things where they put women on a pedestal in a weird way. And of course, you know, you would think that they would want to dress this way for their husbands, but of course that's not what it is. They do it for everybody else, right? So then you have this here, but I wanted to sort of show a really balanced look at all of this stuff. So you have Pastor Mark Driscoll here. Video games took a generation of boys who wanted to be adventurers and heroes and turned them into dopamine addicted losers. This is what he's saying. I mean, this guy is so out of touch. Why is he so out of touch? Well, because most gamers are women now. 52% of gamers are female. Obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about. On top of the fact is, what does he mean by actual men? Does he mean like going camping or something? I don't know what he means by that. I'm not going to become a war hero by not playing video games or something. You know what I mean? What does he even mean, right? Obviously, video games are a pastime, like watching a movie or something. So he's just trying to do this rah, 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 be a real man thing. But a lot of what he says is actually not good. And a lot of it's fluff. Matter of fact, one of the main things that pastors like him have been saying is that the entire reason our society is falling apart is because of prawn, because of corn, as some people call it, because of guys looking at and oodling, of course, women. This is what a lot of the evangelicals have been telling us for a decade. And if they were correct, I think they would have had at least some headway and have made some progress in solving this. But in reality, they've literally solved nothing, because actually, I think I know why. And the reason why is because that's actually not the real problem that's causing our society to go down at all. This idea is a misappropriation. I would say that prawn or corn or whatever you want to call it, I'm just using a code word, is actually a symptom of a problem, not the problem. And I think the problem is what we call feminism. Okay. And I think this right here explains it out. This is Tuckmeister and Nick talking about marriage. Check this out.
I'm like, why isn't anyone married? You tell me, why aren't people married?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's the women.
Man.
The women are extremely liberal. No one talks about that. They're increasingly they do.
It is true that women, like, how many of you guys have had to nerf your political views in order to be around a girl that you like that was more liberal? Yes? Okay, everybody's saying yes. All right, well, there you go.
Especially after the last election, there's a 45-point difference between men and women.
Yeah.
The men are extremely conservative, increasingly. The women are extremely liberal.
Exactly.
What are they liberal on? What issue?
Exactly. Like, you see this with the Free Palestine stuff. Like, it's just a bunch of screeching banshees. You even see it from the arrests. Like 70-80% of the people that are in these protests are women.
So, of course, this is an issue. Obviously, if you're older like me, 50 or above, I just turned 50 recently. But, I mean, if you're like 60, 70, 80, you're like, what are you talking about? I mean, these women that are younger are not the same as the women when you were younger, okay? Not even remotely. So this is a big deal as to why people are not getting married. And there are a lot of men that are becoming very conservative, particularly young men. And of course, here's another. Let's have Nick explain a little bit more on this. Okay, check this out.
A lot of men are looking at women and they're very liberal. They're overweight. They have a very high estimation of themselves. I think that people call it hoflation.
Hoflation?
Yes.
He doesn't know what it means?
Their sense of their own looks and sexual value is very inflated. And so a lot of people are looking at these like frumpy, obnoxious, loudmouth, liberal women who are also very promiscuous and saying this is not actually appealing at all. And I don't.
This is the reason why I think a lot of guys end up dating girls that are like in other countries too. Yeah.
I'm actually guilty of that because my wife is from the Philippines, but it's not that there aren't any good women in America, because there are. Actually, I had to marry a woman my own age, because even the younger women in the Philippines are kind of, not exactly the best either. So my wife is the exact same age as me. It's just kind of funny because, like, I'm a sort of a weird example though, because I think most guys my age would have been married to a woman of, from America, but I'm a little different. But the whole point is that, obviously there's a lot of liberalism, there's a lot of feminism and stuff like that. There are a lot of good women that are older. There are some younger ones that are good too, but it's kind of hard to find them sometimes. Very much a difficult thing to find these days. I'm sure there's some in my comment section for sure. Those that follow me or follow some other good conservatives out there, Christians, I'm sure there's some good women in the comment section. But you're few and far between. You're few and far between. Okay, and there's also a lot of women in the church that are not that good either. Okay, because a lot of them are feminists, but they're secret feminists. They pretend like they're not, but they are. And they also have terrible theology, like Allie Beth Stuckey. She has horrible theology, and she's also talking about this. I got this. I just subscribed or followed this lady, Gia McCool. She's actually got some interesting posts. She's talking. Okay, so she starts off here like talking about women and feminism, but then immediately goes to men and how it's their fault. This is the entire point of what I've been trying to say. Feminism is not men's fault. Women need to take accountability for this. Okay, I would say it's some of the top guys, the dudes at the top, that might be part of their fault because they're the ones that sort of perpetuated it as well. But a lot of women go along with the ride.
That feminism has failed women. Second one, are you ready? Are you ready? Porn has weakened men.
Look what she said. She said feminism failed women. What are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about. Even the conservative Christian women are like, feminism's a good thing as long as it's done right. What are you talking about? What in the hell? What are you even talking about? Feminism failed women? More like women failed because they accepted feminism. That's what really happened. That's what happened. This is why and of course, instead of taking any responsibility whatsoever about this whole thing, let's blame the women. Let's blame the men again. Again, the reason why there's so much corn is because men can't actually find a good woman to marry. And I'm sure there's a lot of good women that can't find a good man as well. I understand that, but I would say it's more so on the side of the men trying to find a woman, because you have a lot of conservative men and very few conservative women, or very few Christian women, or Christian conservative women, although there's a lot of them that pretend to be. And a lot of these women at the top in the conservative movement, a lot of them used to be only, of course, fans. They used to do a lot of this stuff before they became one of these speakers. You'd be surprised how many of them. You'd be surprised how many of them were like this. I would say at least half. Almost half of the top women you see in the conservative movement were at one time doing something nefarious, bad, or whatever you want to call it, and now all of a sudden they're this good traditional Christian woman. Very few of them come up from actually being conservative Christian women and actually become a speaker. That's what I've noticed. It's really kind of strange, actually. Of course, in the case of her, I don't know. I'm sure she probably didn't do that stuff, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked into her. So the fact is, though, you have many women in marriages quietly avoid sex, leaving their husbands to handle their own needs. This is what this Gia's lady is saying. This is what I was saying. It's a symptom. So, okay. So what I wanted to get at is you got Nick's viewpoint on this. And actually Nick's viewpoint is that it's all bad. Matter of fact, he even says it right here. He says that this is one of the main reasons why our society is messed up. I think is what he's saying. He goes, the Tuckmeister and Nick here, arresting owners of these corn companies, preventing millions of young women to go through this. And he thinks this is the problem, and this is how to solve the problem. Why would any of this be legal? Why would you arrest people like this, right? This is what he's saying. If you had a Christian government. Now, I have to disagree with him, because this is not actually going to solve it. This is going to only barely solve it. I don't even think it will solve it. The real problem here is feminism. And actually, that's not the only thing. There's actually something bigger than that, believe it or not, or maybe about equal. And it's something you would never think of. Okay? It's the Fed. The Fed. No one can afford to be married. Okay, if you can't make enough money to get married and have a family, you're not going to have a family, right? The fact that they have the Fed, this way it's set up currently, where they print our money in the background and steal it from us, so they're literally robbing us nonstop. If the dollar was on the gold standard and there was no Fed, you would have 3 to 4 times as much money. If you had 3 to 4 times as much money, you would have plenty of money for one of you not to work, and you would be able to easily have a family and have kids, right? So the entire system of our society would have to completely change just so you can actually have a decent situation for people to get married again and have kids like it was before 1970, because we went off the dollar gold standard in 1970. And that's when the family also fell off, was around that time. So I would say one of the biggest things, there's 2 big things: feminism, the Fed, and there was another one I was thinking of too. I'm trying to remember what the other one was. But corn is not one of the reasons why this happens. Not at all. It's a symptom, meaning it's a result of this. Okay, it's not the reason why this happened. So this is where I think Nick is wrong about that. But I think he's right about a lot of the other stuff he's saying, but he's wrong about this, because there would be no, if everyone could have a family and you had plenty of money and women weren't taught feminism 24/7, do you think there would be a bunch of only, of course, fans women? If everybody could easily get married and easily could afford everything, there would be no need, there would be no guys buying it and watching it, because they would be too busy building a family. That's why. So even if you made a law making it illegal, it would still happen. It would become like what happened with the alcohol prohibition. What was that called? You remember when they tried to make alcohol illegal and then it ended up going underground and the mafia was selling it? That's what would happen, because you didn't solve the problem, because it's a symptom. Okay? It's a symptom of what's going on. That making it illegal will not solve any of this. And actually, back in the old days, I would have thought the same as Nick on this. I would have literally thought the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I thought you should make it illegal and that it should be, prosecuted and all this. I used to think the same way as him back, this has been many years, maybe 20 years ago. But the fact is, the real problem is feminism and the Fed. And there's another one too, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, or I can't think of it right now. But those two are the biggest problem. And the other one, I think the third one was the system itself, the structure. You got all these laws set up where it's men are punished for getting married if the woman can no fault divorce. Which actually Nick says all these things as well. By the way, Nick would agree with me on all these things, I think, as well, and Tuckmeister would probably agree with me as well. I think that these are all huge problems as well, but I think these are actually the main problem.
Actually, very large subculture, much larger than people want to admit, of women.
Actually, he had another clip too. I think I had another clip on this as well. Where is this one? Just a sec here. I think there's another clip. I think I missed a clip somewhere. Oh yeah. No, I missed the Joe Rogan one. Whoops. I should have played that. There's this Joe Rogan one on the whole thing with Charlie here. Check this out.
They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit. Not going to fit in a backpack. And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof.
Yeah, I should have played that earlier. But yeah, so that's back on that topic. But my whole point is that I think the churches went the wrong direction with this whole thing. It's like they've made a boogeyman of a symptom, and that's why they've never solved anything. Because, I mean, if you look at the Song of Solomon, it's in the Bible. It's a literary erotica in the Bible. And of course, all the pastors, no, it's not. That's not what it is. But actually it is. That's what it literally is. And you have all these stories in the Old Testament that make no sense with our common modern day church viewing way of looking at this stuff. There's they had 800 wives and stuff, like King Solomon, like what? Right? So the way we look at it today is nothing like they did in the Old Testament. And you have all these stories that would make no sense with the current doctrine that we're taught in church. And they're taking something that's a symptom that would disappear on its own probably if you would just solve these other real problems, like making it so people could afford anything to even start a family, getting rid of all these ridiculous laws that are stacked against marriage and people getting married and having kids, and all this indoctrination, feminism, all this. If you just got rid of all that stuff, all the symptoms would disappear. The symptoms would disappear. The reason why people become alcoholics is not because of alcohol. It's because they had some problem in their life. And then they got addicted to this drink because they were trying to get rid of it. They had a hard problem they had to deal with. So what if these problems were removed from your life? that cause you to go that direction. You see what I mean? So again, I'm not trying to diminish, the whole thing with alcohol addiction and stuff, but my point is a lot of these things in our society would disappear on their own if you actually had a society that was normal and real and not weird and just backwards like it currently is. Also, the last thing I wanted to mention is that I think the devil is behind all of this. I think this whole thing with the Fed and feminism, all these things are literally from, of course, the devil. I even think it's the same with the church. I think some of the major, isms or paradigms, some of the common ones peddled in the church that are not directly from Scripture, but seem to be, are actually in some cases from the devil as well. I think, for example, the mistranslation of this verse, Matthew 5:27-28, is one of the main verses the devil purposely had mistranslated so that people thought it was a sin in all cases to, see a woman, of course, without clothes or something. This is actually not translated correctly. It's wife, not woman. The word is guneka, which in most verses it was translated wife, not woman. And it actually, specifically, the term guneka refers to a woman that belongs to a man. It's not, the term gun means woman. Guneka means belongs to another. And so I think if you look at some of the more ancient translations, I actually have some behind me. I got one right here, the Matthew Bible. There's the William Tyndale, which is the first English version. A bunch of them in the 1500s all had it translated correctly to wife. And actually, if you look at the ancient languages, and actually here's an ancient commentator saying the exact same thing I'm saying as well. But if you look at the ancient Greek Septuagint, which is the Old Testament, you compare the terms, guneka. This is from do not covet thy neighbor's wife, Exodus 20:17, which is the 10th of the 10 commandments. That's literally what Jesus was paraphrasing. He was paraphrasing the 10th commandment and saying, when you covet another man's wife in your heart and decide you're going to act on it, that's when you sinned. And that's what, essentially, King David, on top of his palace, he sees Bathsheba, of course, showering. And then when did he sin? Was it when he saw her? No, it was when he decided in his heart, hey, I want her. I'm going to go down and get her. As soon as he decided that in his heart, that's when he committed adultery. And so that's what Jesus was meaning by that verse. You even have an ancient commentator from 180 AD saying essentially the same thing. The guy spoke ancient Greek. Here's literally what he wrote right here. He even puts an extra word in there, meaning this word means a woman that belongs to another. Literally adds a word to paraphrase the scripture, making it very clear. He says it means a woman belonging to another. And the guy literally spoke the language. So, there's I could keep going on and on, but the point is that I think intentionally the devil set it up this way to make this paradigm of extremes. Either everything's a sin, don't do anything, or everything's free, you can do whatever you want. And he set up this paradigm so that he could be in the church, everything's a sin, and no fun for you if you're in the church, or come over here, sex, drugs, rock and roll, this is where all the fun is. And this is intentionally set up this way, so you either shoot from one to the other and both are wrong. That's the entire point behind it, and it never allows the church to be strong because the doctrine's incorrect. And I think also this concept of making a false boogeyman rather than dealing with the real problem, which is the Fed, feminism, the structure of our society, that would actually solve all these problems. Anyway, that's my video. I kind of wonder what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.